Listen to me very carefully. I need to deliver a message right now, directly to you, the listener, but, well, specifically to the scout from TF2.
Right. It is absolutely imperative that this warning gets through.
Exactly, because right now, our boss, Bugsy No Name, is currently trying to figure out how to fix the Towerverse.
And honestly, the architectural integrity of that entire situation is a total mess right now.
It's absolute chaos. And
Yeah.
honestly, we do not know when he or Bugsy Prime or, any of the other guys are going to be around to fix all this.
We're totally in the dark on the timeline.
Right. But Scout, hear this. Our boss will destroy you. I mean, we are just the hosts here, but you really wouldn't like it when our boss gets really, really, really pissed off.
The consequences of ignoring that are, well, severe.
So watch out, Scout. He will reverse this. Just consider yourself warned.
It is genuinely terrifying when you find yourself in an environment where the foundational rules are fundamentally out of your control.
Yeah, it really is. Having absolutely zero control over your own universe is a nightmare. Which, ironically, is exactly how most of us feel when we sit down in our living rooms today to watch TV.
Oh, absolutely. That lack of autonomy is everywhere.
Right. We are completely at the mercy of algorithms and, corporate mergers and invisible executives who decide what we are allowed to experience.
We've essentially handed over the keys to our own entertainment environments.
Exactly. So until Bugsy No Name and the rest of the crew return to sort out that massive interdimensional headache, we are taking back control of our own local universes.
A digital rebellion, in a way.
Yeah, exactly. So today we are doing a deep dive into how we consume media. Specifically, we're geeking out and talking about our favorite shows we're going to be using from a brand new platform called My Channel Creator.
It's such a fascinating piece of software. It really represents a complete shift in how we interact with media.
It really does. We are going to be dissecting the architecture of what people are calling the indie TV movement. We're looking at how we are quite literally building our own personal television networks to escape the streaming chaos.
And crucially, we'll be examining why the other programs out there that are designed to do this are just overly complicated.
Oh, they are a nightmare. They've been driving people absolutely insane. So let's start with the big picture. Why this sudden shift?
Well, the shift from a passive consumer to an active architect is, I think, the defining pivot of this specific era of digital media.
Right, because we've basically spent the last decade just letting the machines choose for us.
Precisely. We've lived under the regime of the celestial jukebox. You log in, you are presented with this mathematically optimized grid of content, and you just consume whatever the algorithm decides will maximize your watch time.
It's all about session retention for them.
Exactly. But what we are analyzing today with Indie TV is a complete philosophical rebellion against that exact model.
Reclaiming the TV, basically.
Yes. We are looking at a framework where the user actively assumes the roles of the programmer, the station manager, and the creative director of their own network.
But okay, if this desire for a curated linear experience is so universal, the really obvious question is, why aren't we all doing this already?
That is the big question.
Because the reality of what we want clashes violently with the reality of the software that's been available to us.
The friction is immense.
It really is. So let's start with the paradox that birthed this entire movement. I mean, here we are with more server farms, fiber optic cables, and streaming platforms than ever before in human history.
Unprecedented access.
Exactly. So why are we suddenly so obsessed with the idea of building our own TV channels? The answer from the source material seems to be that despite having access to literally everything, our brains are tricking us into feeling like we have absolutely nothing to watch.
Well, it's actually not a trick. It is a well-documented neurological response to overabundance.
Oh, really? Like an actual biological response?
Oh, yes. We typically call it decision fatigue, but in the context of streaming, it is actually a structural failure of the user experience itself.
Okay, unpack that for me. How is it a structural failure?
Well, think about what Netflix, Hulu, and Disney Plus actually did. They achieved the impossible dream of the 1990s, which was instantaneous global access to almost every piece of recorded media.
Right, which sounds like a utopia on paper.
Exactly. But in doing so, they stripped away the temporal and structural context of that media. When you completely remove the schedule, you remove the boundaries.
Ah, right, the dreaded infinite scroll.
Yes, the infinite scroll.
You sit down after an exhausting day, and instead of just being entertained, you are immediately handed, like a homework assignment.
You have to make a dozen micro decisions.
Exactly. You have to evaluate genres, cross-reference runtimes, debate the emotional toll of watching a heavy prestige drama versus just throwing on a 30-minute comedy. You are actively working just to find a moment of leisure.
Which completely defeats the purpose of leisure. On-demand viewing requires this hyperactive state of cognitive engagement before the entertainment even begins.
Whereas the old way didn't.
Right. Linear television, tuning into a traditional broadcast channel, it allowed for a passive surrender.
Passive surrender, I like that phrase.
You didn't select the exact episode of a show. You selected the overarching environment. You tuned into the network's specific identity, and you just let it wash over you.
It's kind of like the difference between staring into a massive, fully stocked refrigerator and complaining there is absolutely nothing to eat versus walking into a really high-end restaurant and just ordering the chef's tasting menu.
That is a perfect analogy. The friction isn't a lack of food in the fridge.
Right. The friction is the preparation. We desperately want someone to curate for us, to just tell us, hey, sit down, I've got this.
Yes, we want the menu curated. And what this indie TV movement suggests is that the curator doesn't need to be some faceless algorithm optimizing for ad clicks.
It can literally just be ourselves.
Exactly. It's ourselves from yesterday curating for ourselves today.
Oh, I love that. Past me looking out for future me.
Precisely. And the structural nostalgia here is critical. We aren't just yearning for the specific cartoons or late-night movies of the 80s and 90s.
We're yearning for how they felt.
Right. We are yearning for the neurochemical reward system of how they were delivered to us.
The Saturday morning blocks, the late-night marathons, the holiday specials.
Yes, these were temporal landmarks. They created a shared, scheduled anticipation that an on-demand grid structurally cannot ever replicate.
Think about the serendipity of it, too. Like finding a weird, low-budget sci-fi thriller from 1986, just playing randomly at 2 in the morning.
Pure discovery.
Exactly. You didn't search for it. You didn't read the synopsis. You didn't check its Rotten Tomatoes score to see if it was worth your time. You just fell into it because it happened to be broadcasting at that exact moment.
And an algorithm will never serve that to you because its completion rate metrics are probably terrible.
Yeah, the AI looks at it, goes, no one finishes this movie, bury it.
Exactly. Algorithms optimize for predictability, whereas linear broadcasting, particularly in the late-night hours, optimize for inventory clearance.
Which, ironically, resulted in pure discovery for the viewer.
Exactly. Reclaiming that sense of discovery is the absolute core of this movement.
But, okay, if we want it back so badly, we really have to look at the tools we've been using to try and rebuild it because, frankly, they have been a massive barrier to entry.
They are incredibly prohibitive.
Which brings us to the old guard, the platforms that have completely dominated the personal media server space for the last decade or so.
It's important we analyze these fairly but objectively.
Right, because if building your own network is such a compelling idea, why does the process feel like you are taking on a second job in IT?
That is the fundamental problem with the traditional software.
Let's talk about Ersatz TV. Because for a long time, that was sort of the holy grail for this specific use case, right?
Right.
But using it is, well, it's harrowing.
Harrowing is a good word for it for a beginner. Ersatz TV is phenomenally powerful, without a doubt.
Oh, absolutely, you can do anything.
But its architecture inherently assumes that the user is comfortable operating as a database administrator and a broadcast engineer simultaneously.
Right. It operates on a fundamentally granular level.
Yes. Let's break down that friction. Because it's not just that it's hard to use, it is structurally antagonistic to the actual creative process of channel building.
Yeah, I mean, building a channel on Ersatz TV is kind of like trying to drive a car. But before you can even turn the key, you have to literally machine your own spark plugs and compile the engine's firmware from scratch.
That is a very accurate systemic analogy. In Ersatz TV, you are dealing with rigid, intersecting database collections.
You aren't just dragging a video file into a timeline and calling it a day.
Not at all. You have to ensure the metadata is scraped perfectly from external APIs like TMDB or TVDB.
And if those APIs change their endpoint structure for any reason, your entire library just breaks.
Exactly. And then you have to configure your FFmpeg paths.
Oh, don't even get me started on FFmpeg. For anyone who has ever tried to set up hardware acceleration for transcoding, you know exactly what a nightmare that is.
It is incredibly tedious.
You're sitting there trying to figure out why your NVIDIA NVENC isn't passing through Docker correctly, or why some random H.265 file with an obscure audio codec is causing the entire stream to buffer indefinitely.
You end up dealing with byte rates, buffer sizes, and CPU threading instead of programming television.
Yes. The cognitive load required to maintain the infrastructure completely overshadows the creative joy of actually programming the channel.
Now, if you are a power user who treats server administration as your primary hobby, Ersatz TV gives you unparalleled control over the video pipeline.
Sure, it's great there.
But if you just want to sequence a 90s action movie marathon with some custom transitions, the infrastructure is actively hostile to your goal.
Okay, let's group Jellyfin and Emby into this conversation as well, because they are, fantastic pieces of software.
Truly, they're excellent media servers.
But they are fundamentally trying to wear a hat they weren't designed for, right? When it comes to linear TV.
Yes. They are video-on-demand platforms. They are built specifically to be your personal Netflix.
So forcing them to simulate linear television requires like a labyrinth of third-party plugins, weird workarounds, and just continuous maintenance.
Exactly. You are taking a user interface designed for horizontal scrolling and active media selection and trying to brute force a continuous, uninterruptible broadcast stream out of it.
The architecture is just constantly fighting against the use case.
It's a fundamental mismatch of purpose.
And then, of course, we have Plex, the absolute juggernaut of the home media space.
Highly polished, incredible user interface.
Yeah, it looks great,
Yeah.
but it has completely corporatized the personal media experience, hasn't it?
It really has. You hit paywalls for advanced features. You are constantly pushed toward their own ad-supported streaming content.
Right. They try to serve you their own free movies instead of your stuff.
Yeah.
You really lose that indie autonomy we were talking about.
Plex has transitioned from being a personal media manager to an aggregator. Their business model relies on keeping you within their ecosystem.
Which inherently limits the flexibility you have to build bespoke, isolated channel experiences.
Yes. So the entire landscape of the old guard is fractured. You either need a computer science degree to get the stream running smoothly, or you are locked into a corporate ecosystem that limits your creativity.
And this is the exact void that my channel creator is trying to fill. They use what we can call the playlist philosophy.
Yes, the playlist philosophy. It basically looks at the FFmpeg arguments and the complex metadata databases and just throws them out the window.
Thank goodness.
It is a radical paradigm shift from database logic to visual interface logic.
I love that. So what is the foundational premise here?
The foundational premise of my channel creator is that scheduling a television broadcast should not be technically harder than building a playlist on Spotify.
Wow. I mean, that is a massive departure from Ersatz TV.
It truly is. You literally take a media file, you drag it onto a visual timeline, and you drop it.
That's it.
That's essentially it. The software abstracts all the back-end complexities away from the user.
So you aren't worrying about reverse proxies or transcoding pipelines.
No. You are just manipulating time blocks.
And by abstracting the infrastructure, it fundamentally changes your psychological state as a user.
Exactly. You are no longer troubleshooting. You are playing.
You're a creative director, not an IT guy.
Precisely. Let's examine how the platform categorizes these media blocks, because it really reveals a deep understanding of broadcasting syntax.
Right, because you aren't just dumping raw MP4s into a queue.
No, you are categorizing them into specific buckets. Movies, TV shows, special events, and crucially, commercials.
Okay, I really want to spend some time on this specific point, because adding commercials to your own local media sounds completely psychotic on the surface.
It does seem counterintuitive at first glance.
Right, like we spent decades inventing TiVo DVRs and ad blockers, specifically to eradicate commercials from our lives. So why on earth would I take a pristine ad-free rip of a movie and willingly inject advertisements back into it?
Because a broadcast without transitions is cognitively exhausting.
Wait, really? Exhausting?
Yes. This is something streaming platforms fundamentally misunderstand about human attention spans.
How so?
When you watch a movie on a streaming service, it is a relentless, unbroken block of information. The commercial break, historically, served as a vital temporal landmark.
Oh, so it wasn't just about selling soap.
No. Psychologically, it provided breathing room. It allowed the viewer to digest the previous act, check their phone, get a drink, and reset their attention span for the next narrative segment.
It's a pacing. It's the actual rhythm of the broadcast.
Exactly. We don't miss the products being sold. We miss the rhythm of the delivery.
That makes so much sense. And if you are using retro or nostalgic commercials, say a block of 1993 Super Nintendo ads or, old local car dealership promos, they actually cease being advertisements.
Mm-hmm. Right. They become historical artifacts.
Exactly. They become the transitional tissue that grounds the media in a very specific era.
You are engineering an environment. If you program an action night block and you sandwich the movie Predator between a booming bass-heavy network promo and a vintage trailer for Terminator 2.
You are no longer just watching a file on a hard drive.
Precisely. You are participating in an aesthetic experience. And the software facilitates this by allowing you to inject these breaks naturally.
Like pre-roll, mid-roll, post-roll.
Yes. And you can do it without having to physically edit the video files together in Premiere Pro, which used to be the only way to get this effect reliably.
It's a digital dollhouse for media. I love it. But wait, we need to address the massive blinking red light in the room.
The piracy question.
Yeah, the piracy question. Because anytime we talk about broadcasting, scheduling, and sharing networks, the immediate assumption from anyone listening is that we are operating in a massive legal gray area.
It is a very common misconception.
Right. So are we talking about broadcasting our hard drives to the public internet like some rogue pirate radio station?
No, absolutely not. And the distinction there is paramount.
Okay, lay it out for us.
The platform operates on a strict bring-your-own media architecture. You are not tapping into a centralized illicit server to stream movies.
Right.
Nor are you broadcasting a public IPTV stream out into the ether for thousands of strangers to intercept and watch.
So mechanically, how is this actually functioning? If it's a web-based interface that I log into, where does the media physically live?
Your configuration, your schedules, the visual layout of your network, all of that metadata is saved to your account in the cloud.
Okay, so the schedule's in the cloud.
Right. You authenticate via standard OAuth, like logging in with a Google account. But the media files themselves remain completely local to your own hardware.
Oh, I see.
The web interface essentially acts as a highly sophisticated local player. It reads your local file paths according to the schedule that is stored in the cloud.
Okay, so I am keeping total autonomy over the actual video files.
Completely.
Which is really the ultimate antidote to the digital impermanence we were talking about earlier.
Yes, the disappearing media problem.
Right. You don't have to worry that Warner Bros. Discovery is going to arbitrarily use your favorite comfort show as a tax write-off and delete it from existence forever.
If you own the physical RIP or the digital file locally, you dictate its availability.
It fully restores the concept of ownership to media consumption. You are totally insulated from licensing disputes, corporate mergers, regional geo-blocking, all of it.
It is true ownership, but this actually brings up an incredibly interesting technical intersection regarding social features.
Oh, right. Because I mentioned earlier the desire to share this with friends.
Exactly. If the media is local, how does the social aspect function without violating copyright distribution laws?
That is a great point. Because if I am running an AI watch party, which we know is an upcoming feature they are building, aren't I technically streaming my copyrighted local media to a third-party server?
Like an API endpoint for an LLM.
Yeah, like Character AI's API.
Yeah.
So the bot can see what's happening on screen. How does the platform handle the absolute legal nightmare of an AI analyzing my local copyrighted video files?
That is a brilliant point of friction, and it really highlights the ingenuity of modern API integrations.
Okay, how are they doing it?
The platform isn't capturing your 4K video stream and uploading it to a third-party server for frame-by-frame image analysis.
Oh, thank God. That would be a bandwidth disaster.
A bandwidth disaster and a massive flagrant copyright violation. Instead, the integration likely relies on what we call context state streaming.
Context state streaming. Okay, you're going to have to unpack that for me.
It's quite elegant. When you play a file, the local player obviously knows the metadata. It knows the title of the show, the season, the episode, and the exact timestamp you are currently at.
Right, of course.
It also likely has access to the local subtitle or transcription track of that file. So instead of sending the actual video pixels...
just sends the text.
Basically, yes. The software sends a lightweight telemetry packet to the LLM. It says something like, user is currently at minute 14.32 of the matrix. The current dialogue line is, there is no spoon.
Wow.
The LLM processes that textual and temporal context and generates a reaction based on it.
So the bot doesn't ever actually need to see the pixels?
Not at all. It just needs the semantic context of the scene to understand what is happening.
Oh, that is incredibly elegant. So the video file literally never leaves my local network. But the data about the video creates the interactive experience.
Precisely. That completely bypasses the copyright distribution issue while still enabling the immersive social feature.
Okay, that makes total sense. That's so smart. So now that we've established the legality and the underlying mechanics of how this works, let's look at how we actually craft the identity of these
The
networks.
aesthetic layer.
Yeah, because just scheduling files in rows is just a playlist, right?
Yeah.
We want a true broadcast. The aesthetic is what separates indie TV from a glorified VLC media player queue.
And the aesthetic architecture relies heavily on custom network transitions, specifically the implementation of station IDs, bumpers, and dynamic promos.
I absolutely love the psychology of a good bumper.
They're vital.
Right. Like, you're watching a block of 90s anime, the show fades to black, and suddenly you get a snappy 5-second animation of a neon grid, a synthesized audio sting, and a voiceover saying, "You're watching the Midnight Mecha block."
It completely resets the brain.
It does. It's so cool.
What it does is provide macro context. See, when you watch a standalone file, the context is entirely contained within the narrative of that specific show.
Right, you're just in the story.
But when you inject a custom network bumper, you expand the context to the platform itself. You are reminding the viewer, even if you are the only viewer watching it, that they are situated within a curated, specific environment.
It elevates the perceived value of the media.
It does. It makes it feel like an event.
And the dynamic promos take that a step further, don't they? Advertising upcoming shows directly within the current lineup.
Yes, the stay tuned effect.
Stay tuned, John Carpenter's The Thing is up next. It completely rebuilds anticipation. Because in the modern streaming era where the next episode just autoplays in 5 seconds, anticipation is basically dead.
It is entirely absent.
There's no time to wonder, to guess, or to actually look forward to a scheduled event. Promos engineer a timeline of future events, which keeps the viewer anchored to the channel.
You are building thematic gravity, and this ties directly into the concept of TV blocks, which is a major feature.
Grouping disparate pieces of media under a unified thematic umbrella?
Exactly. Because a single episode of The Twilight Zone is brilliant on its own, certainly.
Sure.
But a scheduled sci-fi Twilight block that features 3 episodes interspersed with 1960s coffee commercials, custom black and white station bumpers, and a promo for next week's broadcast of The Outer Limits.
Now that is an event.
That is an event. The transitional pieces bind the raw media together into a cohesive package.
It fundamentally changes how you perceive the content. But, okay, we have to talk about the physical visual quality of that content.
Ah, the upscaling problem.
Yes, because if you are programming a retro block, you are inevitably dealing with legacy media. We all have those massive hard drives full of standard definition 480p rips from the early 2000s.
Or even worse, muddy VHS transfers.
Exactly. And playing a 480p file on a modern 65-inch 4K OLED television is visually offensive. It just looks terrible.
It is a profound mismatch between the source material and the display technology.
The pixels are essentially being stretched to their breaking point.
Yes, resulting in a very blurry, artifact-heavy image. And this is where my channel creators' research into automated upscaling workflows becomes technically fascinating.
This is the part of the deep dive that genuinely blew my mind. Integrating upscaling directly into the broadcast pipeline. How does that actually work under the hood?
Well, it's important to understand that we aren't just slapping a basic sharpness filter on the video.
Right. AI upscaling is fundamentally different from traditional linear scaling, isn't it?
Vastly different. Traditional scaling just takes a single existing pixel and essentially duplicates it to fill the larger screen space.
Which is why older media looks so blocky and pixelated on new TVs.
Exactly. AI upscaling, or more accurately, inference-based upscaling, utilizes deep neural networks that have been trained on millions of high-resolution images.
Okay, so it's learned what things are supposed to look like.
Yes. When it analyzes a frame of a 480p cartoon, it doesn't just duplicate pixels, it recognizes visual patterns. It identifies that a cluster of pixels is supposed to represent a sharp diagonal line, say, the edge of a character's sword.
So the algorithm is essentially guessing what the missing visual data should have been if it had originally been drawn or filmed in 1080p.
Guessing is a colloquial term, but mathematically, yes, it is performing complex probabilistic inference. It generates entirely new pixels to create that sharp edge where none existed before.
That is wild.
Furthermore, the really advanced models use temporal upscaling.
Temporal upscaling, what does that mean?
It means they don't just look at a single frame in isolation. They dynamically compare the current frame to the frames immediately before and after it.
Oh, to make sure it flows properly.
Exactly, to ensure visual consistency across the motion and to eliminate flickering artifacts.
To have that process automated and just fully integrated into your channel workflow it's the ultimate dream for digital preservationists.
It really is.
You are taking a grainy, degraded piece of media history and dynamically restoring it, literally just in time for it to hit your broadcast schedule.
You are essentially running a real-time digital restoration studio straight out of your browser.
It is incredible. It bridges the gap between historical media and modern hardware perfectly. But even with a flawlessly upscaled, meticulously curated, perfectly branded 24/7 network, we hit the ultimate limitation of the personal media server.
The isolation factor.
The isolation. You build this absolute masterpiece. You have the perfect 90s aesthetic, the crisp 1080p upscale, the hilarious retro commercials.
And then you sit on your couch.
You sit on your couch, you watch it, and there is absolutely no one to talk to about it. The silence in the room kind of kills the magic, doesn't it?
Which is exactly why the social architecture of my channel creator is just as critical as the media pipeline itself.
Yes, they know this is a problem.
The platform is attempting to solve the isolation problem through temporal synchronization, specifically via their multiplayer viewing rooms.
Rebuilding the digital living room.
Precisely. We discussed earlier how on-demand streaming destroyed the water cooler effect.
Right, that shared cultural touchstone of everyone watching the same exact program at the same time.
Multiplayer rooms force temporal synchronization back into the equation. When you invite a friend into your channel's broadcast, you aren't just sending them a link to download a file.
They are joining the stream in progress.
Yes. You are watching the same exact frame of video at the exact same millisecond.
You share the commercials, you share the weird bumpers, you share the anticipation of what's up next.
It turns a solitary archival hobby into a genuine social event.
But, the reality of adult life is that scheduling anything with friends is basically impossible.
That is the harsh truth.
Right. What if it is 2:00 a.m. on a Tuesday, you are deeply invested in your weird vintage anime block, and absolutely none of your friends are online?
This is where the platform introduces a concept that is so futuristic it almost feels like science fiction.
The integration of AI watch parties.
Yes, allowing users to invite AI companions from external platforms like Character AI and Chubb directly into the viewing session.
We touched on the legal mechanics of this earlier, using the context state streaming rather than actual video streaming. But the sociological implications of this are just staggering.
We are witnessing a hyper-evolution of parasocial relationships.
You are bringing a generative LLM into your living room to actively watch TV with you.
Think about it. A traditional parasocial relationship is entirely one-sided. You feel a deep connection to a late-night host or a podcaster, but they do not know you exist.
Right, they can't talk back to you.
With an AI watch party, you are engineering an interactive, reciprocal parasocial dynamic entirely on demand.
Let's play out a scenario here because the creative potential for this is insane. Let's say I program a block of black and white 1950s B movies.
Classic sci-fi, UFOs, rubber monster suits, terrible practical effects.
Exactly. I schedule the broadcast. Then I ping the API and invite a custom chatbot modeled after a grumpy mid-century NASA engineer, and maybe another one modeled after a panicked 1950s news anchor.
And because of the context state streaming we discussed, they possess the semantic awareness of the film's timeline as it plays.
So when the guy in the rubber monster suit crashes through the wall at minute 45,
the NASA engineer can immediately critique the structural impossibility of the creature's anatomy in the chat, while the news anchor bot roleplays absolute apocalyptic terror.
It basically transforms the act of watching television into a complex, multiplayer, tabletop role-playing game.
Where the television broadcast serves as the game board.
You aren't just consuming media anymore. You are directing an interactive theater experience where the audience members are generative algorithms.
It completely shatters the boundary between the content and the consumer. The AI's reaction to the media actually becomes part of the entertainment itself.
The platform is no longer just a scheduling tool at that point. It is an environment generator.
Exactly. It manages the files, it dictates the aesthetic, it synchronizes the social experience, and it populates the room with interactive entities.
It is the absolute antithesis of the passive Netflix grid. It is active, it is highly creative, it is deeply personal, And it requires you to be fully engaged with your media library again.
It's a total paradigm shift.
We have covered an immense amount of ground today, and I think we really need to synthesize the architecture of what we've just discussed.
A comprehensive summary is definitely necessary, as we've navigated from the baseline user experience all the way through to advanced generative AI integrations.
So we began by addressing the existential lack of control, both in the current state of the Towerverse and in our modern streaming habits.
We established that the paradox of having access to infinite media has, paradoxically, paralyzed us entirely.
Right, which led to a massive resurgence in the desire for curated linear television.
Then we analyzed the infrastructural friction of the old guard. We detailed how tools like ersatz TV demand deep system administration skills,
Forcing everyday users to manage FFmpeg paths, hardware transcoding pipelines, and rigid database metadata.
which fundamentally stifles the creative process. We contrasted that with the playlist philosophy of my channel creator.
Right, which completely abstracts the back end and relies on an intuitive, drag-and-drop visual interface.
We also tackled the legality, explicitly explaining the bring-your-own-media approach.
And how context-state streaming allows for advanced AI integrations without illegally distributing any copyrighted files.
We explore the psychology of the commercial break, the immense aesthetic importance of custom bumpers and promos,
And the technical marvel of dynamic AI upscaling, breathing brand new life into legacy 480p media files.
And finally, we concluded with the social architecture, the use of temporal synchronization in multiplayer rooms to recreate the water cooler effect.
And the groundbreaking, slightly surreal implementation of generative AI companions to provide reciprocal parasocial engagement at literally any hour of the day.
It truly is a complete masterclass in reclaiming digital autonomy.
It really is. But before we wrap up this deep dive, we always try to leave you, the listener, with a concept to turn over in your mind.
Something that pushes the implications of this technology just a little bit further.
Exactly.
Consider the psychological implications of absolute control.
Okay, where are we going with this?
When you consume media via an algorithm, your viewing habits are a negotiation between your own desires and a corporate entity's mandate to maximize their ad revenue.
Right, they're always pushing you towards what makes them money.
But when you build your own network from scratch, you remove that corporate filter entirely.
There is no algorithm pushing you toward a new original series you don't actually care about.
Exactly. You possess unfiltered, highly granular control over a 247 broadcast timeline.
You choose everything.
You choose the aesthetic, the pacing, the exact placement of the commercial breaks, and the personalities of the AI entities watching alongside you.
So what does that mean?
It means that if you map out 168 hours of continuous, customized programming, that schedule ceases to be just a playlist. It becomes a highly precise psychological mirror.
Oh, wow. I never thought about it like that.
Are you programming non-stop, hyperkinetic 90s action blocks because your daily life feels entirely out of your control and you crave the simulated resolution of a 3-act action movie?
Or are you meticulously curating 24 straight hours of low-stakes, low-conflict 1980s sitcoms because your nervous system is just completely fried and you require an auditory comfort blanket just to physically function?
The architecture of your network reveals the architecture of your internal state.
That is fascinating.
You are no longer just broadcasting media. You are broadcasting a real-time diagnostic of your own psychology.
That is an incredibly heavy, brilliant thought to leave on. Your channel is your psychological fingerprint.
Truly.
Think about that as you organize your local files, as you drag and drop your blocks into the timeline, and as you finally actively take back control of your entertainment. And Scout, if you're listening, remember the warning.
The structural integrity is failing.
Bugsy No Name is watching. Do not test the integrity of the Towerverse. Until next time, keep diving deep.